Great to be joined again by the New South Wales Farmers President, Xavier Martin. Xavier, a serious situation for a lot of your farmers in New South Wales when it comes to rain, inundation and flooding.
Yes, there's multiple valleys now right across the state, or right along the eastern seaboard really, that are in urgent need of an increase in emergency payments due to the flood-affected, highly stressed communities. We're representing more than half the state's local government areas now with this rolling, ongoing flood disaster.
Now, Xavier, when it comes to the funding that's available, there was some earlier funding of around $75,000 went into the northern part of the state, but how much are people getting, or farmers getting, in other parts of the state now?
Oh, look, some time back we welcomed the $25,000 emergency payments for prime producers across certain other valleys, but the time is right now, the time has passed really for the escalation of that up to the same level of funding that the Northern Rivers valleys had, and that is the $75,000. I mean, the gross impact, the ongoing struggle that is apparent right now, and the need to rebuild requires this greater level of support. And that's why the federal government and the state governments have got the Natural Disaster Response Agreement in place, and we just urgently need that decision to escalate the response.
Well, I gather in some cases farmers are not facing their first year of floods. They've been battling this for some time now.
Oh, that's right. We've had our survey out for some time, and it's updating again, but it's showing that this is the second year of major flooding for a lot of the valleys, for a lot of farmers. Many of them didn't even plant half their crop, more than half, and 2/3 of them or more are in a situation where, their losses are just ongoing and compounding. So another statistic that came out of the survey, I think, was that 87% of them are quite frankly over this whole, 6, 7, 8 floods in 12 months. It's really impacting on the communities.
It's a phenomenal burden, and we've been hearing from New South Wales farmers and others in the agricultural sector prior to this about the labour shortages, the workforce needs. Is there something the federal government could do to help farmers at least get whatever crop they have got off the paddock?
Oh, absolutely. And for some reason, this incoming Albanese government seems to have stalled all the options, all the programs that were in place under the Morrison government, and we're calling on them to unravel that. I mean, what they're proposing is barely 10,000 here or 10,000 there, when we're really about 140 or 180,000 casual and seasonal workers behind. So we really need to re-engage all those different programs that enable, are a key enabler in these sorts of responses. In the interim, we've got roads cut all over the place, and it's beyond local government to take on the size of some of the damage to bridges and culverts and causeways, and we need the Australian Defence Force being mobilised by the federal government too, to get out there and do the urgent road repairs required to get harvest back underway. It's just a nonsense to see the Newell and other north-south thoroughfares cut and the sign saying detour via Broken Hill or Sydney. I mean, hello, how do you get the economy of the state rolling if you've got to go 1,500 kilometres one way or the other to travel north and south?
Yeah, absolutely. That graphic of that 1,500k detour got a bit of chatter on our social media when we shared it. We couldn't believe it either. When it comes to that harvest task, Xavier Martin, New South Wales Farmers President, the DPI in New South Wales Primary Industries had indicated we had a record crop in New South Wales last reporting year, and we were on track for it until this flooding activity. So it is a monumental scale task, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And look, last year we suffered a fair bit in terms of quality downgrade. We still recovered quite a significant quantity. And fortunately, the input costs were somewhat reasonable. This year has just been extraordinary. The increase in costs, whether it's fertiliser or fuel or the fungicides or chemicals that have to be used in various crops. And, trying to be good stewards of animals and plants has just become very expensive in the face of these weather events and ongoing flooding events. And, La Nina's not over yet. We've unfortunately seen in the Lachlan and Mandadgery in the last few days these volatile downpours, these just absolute saturation events, and that can occur in any valley through the summer. The sort of inundation that can occur in a matter of hours. And so to be preparing for that, getting this increased emergency response amount of $75,000 out there is critical.
Yeah, a federal MP speaking with us earlier today talked about the bureaucracies around, I guess, preparation for flooding and the like were caught napping because the climate change predictions, the false prophecies of Tim Flannery were that we weren't going to see flood like this again. Do you agree with that sort of view that maybe we are underprepared for this flooding situation because there was a feeling that we were going to have more droughts and not more floods?
Oh, look, farmers I speak with are generally pretty flexible and interactive with observing weather events, whether they're significant dries or significant wets. So everyone's got plan A, B, C, even D, E, F. But it's when you get to plan, you haven't quite got X, Y, Z in terms of what to do when you've got 6, 7, 8 rolling floods in 12 months. That does become a bit of a stretch. And, once it starts, the sort of redistribution on some floodplains, whether it's by public or private works, we're seeing floodwaters charging through people's homes and hay sheds and knocking fences down that have stood for 70 or 80 years. There's some serious need for review of just, in the dry decades, there does appear to have been a lot of works constructed that have really changed the rules for others.
Xavier, just before we go, the climatic situation we've got at the moment, the floods, for instance, droughts before that, we know that who'd want to be a farmer? It's pretty hard work on farmers and their mental health. On this National Ag Day, important that we encourage people to look after each other.
Yeah, look, we've got a real and evolving flood situation, and we've also got a celebration of Ag Day where we're all very thankful for, the food and clothing that we all enjoy. But there is super stressed communities out there as well as individuals, and it's only by all looking out for each other and working together, managing our mental health. And certainly I encourage anyone who needs it to reach out for that wellbeing support. It is there, and it's a really important thing that we all look out for each other to have a happy Christmas and New Year.
Yeah, very good point, Xavier Martin. Some of those numbers people can reach out to is Lifeline 13 11 14 and Beyond Blue 1300 22 46 36. Thanks again for joining us on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky.